Hello everyone, welcome back to Naomi's Bookshelf. Today we're going to do my recommendations for Buzzwordathon in December. So the theme for Buzzwordathon in December are days of the week or months of the year or seasons. So as always, we have tried to go with a variety of genres and types, although I have to be honest, there aren't many different genres on this type of list, even though I did try my best, so let's go for it. So the first book I'm going to recommend is a short story by Agatha Christie. As always, I have one Agatha Christie on this list, and that is the Tuesday Night Club, which is in this case, the Tuesday Night Murders, or Tuesday Club Murders is this complete bind-up name, but the short story, which is the Tuesday Night Club, this is a little short story about the beginning of this club where they are going to sit down and discuss a murder that has happened or an event that has happened and how did it occur, what's the premise, and can they solve it in this short story. This is a Miss Marple specifically short story, but also a short story collection. It was very fun. I really enjoyed the short story and how Miss Marple solves it, but also the people that are telling the story and how they underestimate Miss Marple as a whole. I think it's a really great short story to read if you are trying to figure out if you would like Miss Marple, but also if you're trying to get into Agatha Christie. So the Tuesday Night Club. A children's classic that you might be interested into. This is a modern classic, and this was written in like the 1970s. This is by Mary Rogers, and this is Freaky Friday. This is the inspiration for the movies, and it is about a young girl who is named Annabelle, and she wakes up in the body of her mother. You don't see the mother's perspective in this book, but you see Annabelle's perspective. And it's very interesting to see how she really takes on this motherly role and how she views her mother's day and the different things her mother has to go through in a day and what she gleans out of this experience. It's very short. It's about 150 pages, but I found it to be really interesting and an interesting children's book from the 70s. And if it's something you might be interested into reading, especially something that came from the 70s, but also something that inspired two very popular movies, why not check it out? A nonfiction that you could read would be 6 Days in August by David King. This one is a true crime, but also about the psychological effects of Stockholm Syndrome. This one is about the original Stockholm Syndrome case where a bank robber walks into a bank and takes several people hostage, mainly 3 women, and then these 3 women become the original people who had Stockholm Syndrome. You know that going in, and it's about these 6 days of which these 3 women and the bank robber are there in the bank. And the events are all chronologically put in the book, and they are all very interesting, and they are all chronologically based, so it's very logical in the setup, but it also follows people like the police, it follows the press. This book is very interesting in how it's arranged, and it came out last year. It is something that, if you are interested at all in the psychology of Stockholm Syndrome and how it came into existence, in that term at least, but also if you're interested in the true crime elements of it, this would be a really great book for you. I thought it was really interesting and how they put the storyline together. Why not check it out? The next one I'm stretching a little bit, but this one's called A Year Full of Stories. This one's by Angela McAllister. This one I'm stretching because it says a year, so I'm just gonna go with it. And this one is 52 different stories from all over the world, talking about all different kinds of mythology and different cultures and different religions, and sharing the different origin stories. And I thought it was really clever and really informative and really interesting, and they were very short stories, but they were very impactful, talking about different origins from all over the world, from the different Caribbean cultures to Asian cultures to African cultures to European cultures to North American cultures, all over. And I thought it was very well done for 52 different stories, which isn't a lot, but I really enjoyed it. And it's something that you could read very quickly, or you could read with your children if you were wanting to participate that way. But it was really, really well done. Another book I would recommend is Before the Fall by Noah Hawley. This one is a very interesting and kind of psychological mystery about an airplane that goes down, and you're trying to figure out what happened from several different perspectives of people who were on the airplane as it goes down. And I've read this one several years ago, but if I remember right, one of the people survives from the plane by swimming, and they are trying to figure out what happened. There's so many things that go on, and they are trying to figure out what exactly happened. So through this book, you are going through different people's perspective, like the flight attendants, like different people who were on the plane. And because the plane was a privately owned jet, it's not a normally owned plane that they can't just go over easily. So the For the Fall is a very interesting one where it does kind of do a countdown and a backtrack, but it is a very interesting one that you can look at. It's not very fast paced, but when you are building up to the suspenseful moment, it really gets you. And I would highly suggest not reading that one on a plane. Historical nonfiction would be House of Treason, The Rise and Fall of the Tudor Dynasty by Robert Hutchinson. This one is about the Howard family and how they really rise and fall during history. I think this one goes from Henry IV, maybe even earlier, to Henry VIII. And so this one really follows several years of how they rise and fall and how they, almost get executed and then maybe not, or how some of them do get executed and how their family really can regain power. It is so interesting. It's the House of Norfolk, I believe, is also their title. And I found this to be such a fascinating and interesting read to talk about when I was buddy reading this one. And it is so fascinating. I don't know how else to describe it because it just chronicles the different escapades of this family's adventures and how really they are self-seeking, but at the same time, they have so many adventures with that. And it is such an interesting thing if you are at all interested in British history. This one would be a really great one to read for that. Another one I'd recommend would be The Winter's Tale by Shakespeare. This one has some really great elements. It has some fantasy elements. It has some questioning loyalty elements where a king decides that he might not trust the faithfulness of his wife, and therefore he is trying to decide what happens next. It's a very short one, and like all Shakespeare plays, I recommend that you listen or watch them first because then you can actually understand them as they were meant to be watched or enjoyed. But if you do choose to do that, it is a very quick one. It's about 3 hours. So that could knock your one right off the bucket list, and there you go. But yes, The Winter's Tale was a really great one and easy to finish. Winter's Secret is another one. This one's by Lynn Coate, and this one is a Christian suspense one, but I didn't realize how old it was. It's almost 20 years old now, and it is so well done and so fast-paced that I didn't realize how old it was because it just is so relevant. And the only thing that tripped me up was the talk about pagers instead of cell phones. This one follows several people who are being burglarized as they go into nursing homes. These people are elderly, and so a sheriff is trying to figure out what's going on as a nurse who is bringing them into these care homes for the night is the only one who is really knowing that they are going into these homes. And so she's trying to help him, the sheriff, try to figure it out. And so it's a very interesting suspense novel, and I highly recommend it. If you're wanting a graphic novel, I'd recommend March by John Lewis. This is a graphic novel series, book 1, 2, and 3. They are all wonderful, and they follow John Lewis as he tried to fight for the civil rights movement. He did this wonderful series with 2 other wonderful people named Nate Powell and Andrew Aiden. They put this wonderful series together talking about how he fought for the civil rights movement, how the different things that they had to go through, whether they be freedom rides or being thrown in jail or the different things that they sat in on restaurants. All of these things were done in this book series. They're incredible graphic novels, very fast to read, but very impactful. And I highly recommend them for anything, but especially for this one because it is this name of a month, but also just because they're really impactful and powerful to read. The last thing I have to recommend would be a book bind-up series, but you can only read one book and you'll be fine. And this is a series called Seasons of the Heart by Jeanette Oke. The first one is called Once Upon a Summer. The second one is called The Winds of Autumn. Then the third one is called Winter's Not Forever. And the final one is Spring's Gentle Promise. So they're all called a season, and this one is about this is historical fiction about basically the country and cowboy romance, or farmer romance maybe is how you want to call it, but it is very sweet and very wholesome. It'd probably be like YA, I would probably call it, and it is very cute. I really enjoy this series, and I read it when I was younger, and I have just kept this around because I really do love this wholesome series. So yeah, the series is perfectly, and I could read this whole thing in a week, so I might do that, but I'm not calling that my TBR. I will tell you what my TBR is now though. I will be reading The September Society by Charles Finch. This is book 2 in the Charles Lennox series, and I am thinking this is perfect because this is not only a September book, being the name of a month, but also this is the sequel to an Agatha Award winner, which is perfect for the Christie's Missing Readathon. I am the host of an Agatha Christie readathon, which is called the Christie's Missing Readathon, which is going from December 3rd to December 11th. December 13th, sorry. And we will be reading books that are Agatha Christie inspired or Agatha Christie written, and one of them is to read an Agatha Award winner. So I'm just going to squeeze that prompt in to being the series, and I'm going to be reading The September Society for this one. I don't know anything else about it except for that's Charles Lennox. I really loved book 1, and I'm excited to read book 2. I loved Charles Lennox as a character, and I'm excited to continue on, and I'm glad I have the audiobook because the audiobook was brilliant for A Beautiful Blue Death. So that is the end of this recommendations video. I'm not sure if I'm going to do them next year for Buzzwordathon, as we do have more prompts. And honestly, I have loved doing them this year, but they do add a lot of books to my monthly reading, as sometimes I don't have enough books for a specific prompt. So please let me know if you think I should do them even with less books per video. What do you prefer? What would you like me to do for 2022? Would you like me to continue these videos? I would love to hear your thoughts about continuing this idea. Also, please let me know what you'll be reading for Buzzwordathon in December. What kind of months or seasons or days of the week will you be reading? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. But please let me know if I should continue this video series next year. I really am still unsure of what I am going to do, so I'd love to hear what you think I should do. I will take it into very serious account when I am trying to figure it out, because I am very unsure right now. Anyways, please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.